Part 3. Time to get our blog on. Hey everybody, Joe Workman here, and this is part 3 of our Total CMS implementation overview video series. And in the first 2 videos, we took the foundation project that we created in the Getting Started with Foundation series, okay, and we CMSified it, right? We made all the text editable images, we added a gallery, we did a cool feed on the About Us page, right? Video. So that was nice. But the next thing we need to do, which ships in Total CMS 1.2, is new and it's awesome, is our new blog. Now, we're going to try to implement an entire blogging system here in this one video from scratch. So I'm not going to dive deep into every single blog stack. We will have extra detailed videos about each of those stacks. So make sure you check those videos out. If you've watched any of the blog overview videos that we have, you probably know that the blog essentially is 4 components, okay? 2 admin components, 2 content components, right? On the admin side, we have a admin list stack that lists all your existing blog posts that are inside the CMS. And then obviously we have the form side, which is the form where you can create new blog posts, edit existing blog posts, so on and so forth, right? Pretty straightforward, the admin side, right? We're going to do that first. Next is the content side. And that is essentially 2 components of that are the blog list, okay, which lists out all your existing blog posts for customers so people can browse through your blog posts, right, and filter through them. The last part on the content side is the actual blog post page. So when someone clicks on your listing in your blog post list, it'll take you to the individual page that is for that blog post, right? So without further ado, let's jump into the same project that we've been working on, and we're gonna add in the admin stuff right now. So here we are inside the RapidWeaver project that we've been working on the past couple of videos. Now, if you notice, I've already kind of prepared this file for the new pages that we're gonna have to add for blog. Let's review what those are right now. So first I've added a new page to my menu called blog. And what this blog page is going to contain is the blog listing. So all of the listings of all of our blog posts so that people can peruse through our blog posts, click on them, and ultimately take them to the individual blog post page, which here I have set up as a sub page to the blog. Okay. Now, if you notice, I just created duplicates of these pages, and the main blog page does have a couple CMS attributes like we did on other pages. So we have a page title specific to this blog page as well as a subtitle. Next, if we go down to our admin portal, if you remember, we created tabs for each page that we have on our site. So what I've done is I've simply added a new tab to the tab stack, and I've indicated that is for the blog page. If you scroll down to the content of that tab number 5, you'll see that we have various CMS settings similar to the other pages that we had already set up for header. So page title and subtitle, okay? Now below that, you'll notice some new specific stacks for blog. First, we have blog list. Now, if we look at the settings for the blog list stack, you'll see that the CMS ID is set to be blog right now. Now, if you recall in video 1, we uploaded some sample CMS data to our web server. And if you use the CMS ID of blog for a blog, you actually get a lot of great sample data to use without having to create any of your own blog posts. The next 2 important settings inside the blog list stack is the edit form page and the post view page. The edit form page needs to be set to the actual blog form page. In this instance, it's going to be the new post page, which we haven't seen yet, but we'll look at shortly. And what you'll notice is once I set that setting, a red alert has gone away, a warning has gone away inside the blog list stack because that really is required in order to edit your blog post by clicking on them in the admin area. Next is our post view page. And if we click on that, this is going to be the actual page where blog posts are viewed by our visitors. So here it's going to be the blog post page that we saw earlier. Now above the blog list stack, I just added a simple button that says new blog post. Now this is just a normal button stack. It's not necessarily a CMS specific stack. But what I want to use this button for is to link to the new blog post form page. This way there's a nice clean button where users can click on it and they know that that's going to take them to the new blog post page to actually create a new blog post. The next step in the blog admin interface is to create the new post page. Now, I had already created this page earlier so that I can easily link to it inside my blog list stack. And essentially what this page is going to be, it's going to be a dedicated web page for our blog form stacks. Now, under Total CMS Admin, you can drag out the blog form stack. And what you'll see is that we now have a child of stack interface where you can add as many fields as you want for your blog form. Now, the one field that is required inside the form is the blog permalink. The blog permalink is the unique identifier for each individual blog post. Let's go ahead and build out this form a little bit. We can do that very simply by clicking on the plus button and selecting the stack that we want to add. For example, this is the form field for the blog title. And I can add the summary. And then I can add content. Okay? Now, what's great about the blog form stack is that you're not limited to just the form fields that we saw inside the child of interface. As you see here, I've added a 2-column stack to actually make my form fill 2 columns. And then over here, I have another 2-column stack which controls the draft and featured toggles for this blog post. Now, what you'll notice at the bottom is I have a save and a delete button. When you add a blog button and set it to be a delete button, that delete button will only be shown when you're actually editing an existing blog post instead of just creating a new one. Now, if we look at the settings for the main blog form stack, you'll see that we've set our CMS ID to be blog because this is the CMS ID for our blog. Next is the post view page, and you're going to want to set this to be the URL or link it to the page for the actual blog post page, the page where your blog post will be viewed by your end users. This is important because this page is used to display RSS feeds, to configure sitemap files, right? This is a very important setting if you want a lot of the extras inside your blog to function properly. So if we preview this page, we'll see that we have a nice, simple, clean form to submit new and edit existing blog posts. And if we head over to our main admin portal for this site and go to the blog tab, you'll see that we have a nice way to view and edit existing blog posts directly here in RapidWeaver. So as you see, configuring the admin interface for our blog is pretty straightforward and simple. We have the blog admin list stack that lists out, all of the existing blog posts that we have in our CMS. And there's a few important settings there, right? Obviously CMS ID, that's important for every CMS stack, okay? But those linkages, right? Those are very important for everything to work properly. We need to link to the blog form page, like the edit form page, and then also the blog post view page. Now, on the form side, okay, I really breezed right through and I kind of automated a lot of the steps in terms of. Now, in terms of the blog form page, you see that you can really easily add all of the form fields and then use other stacks to enhance that form, right? Whether that be column stacks or some other organizational or layout stacks. Maybe you want to add some headers or descriptions so your clients can actually easily know exactly what they're supposed to put inside each field. Now, again, I glanced over some of the settings. I didn't go into depth on everything. So make sure you check out our more detailed videos on each, blog and CMS stack if you want a more in-depth review of all of the settings for those stacks. So now that we've set up our admin interface, okay, we can add new blog posts, we can view existing ones, we can edit existing ones, okay? Let's go ahead and look at the content side of blog, okay? I've already created a couple of those pages, right? The blog page and the blog post page, okay? I created those beforehand just so that it was simple to link to them in the admin interface. So let's jump in and we're going to configure those two content pages that we saw for blog lists and blog post content. So here we are on the main blog page that we see inside the menu, right? So this is going to be the page that contains the listing of all of our blog posts for our customers. So what we're going to do is there is the blog list content stack. You'll notice a red warning right away saying that we need to make sure that we actually link the blog list stack to the blog post page, right? This is so that when people click on your blog posts, it knows where to take them to, right? So if we look at the settings for blog list, we'll see that the CMS ID, and again, we want to set the CMS ID here to be blog because that's the CMS ID of the sample data that we've loaded into our project. On the post view page, I'm going to go ahead and select the blog post page. Again, this is the page that will contain all the details for each blog post. We haven't created all the content on that page yet, but we need to create that link so that it all works later on. Now, before we dive into some settings for the blog list stack, you'll notice that this is similar to the blog form stack in that it is a child of stack. Now, essentially what we're going to be doing in the blog list stack is going to be building a layout for a single blog post. Now, unlike the blog form stack that we saw earlier, we are not allowed to add any external stacks into this. The blog list stack is limited to just these blog list stacks. Now, I've created a generic layout utility stack in here, and this allows us to do things like, adding columns and up to a 2-column, interface inside of our blog list. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to create a layout that had 2 columns where the image was on the left and then some of the blog post content was on the right. I could easily add a layout, a 2-column layout, and then add an image and add the image over here. And then I can add a title and drag the title over here. I can then add the summary and then add the summary below the title. Okay. And then add maybe a read more button. Okay. And add that below the summary. So again, the blog list is creating a layout for what one blog post will look like. And then that layout will be applied to each blog post that is viewed on the page. And if we preview this again, you'll see that this is really starting to look like a lot of the traditional blog post layouts that we see out there on the web. Now, another thing that is common in blogs on the web is that they'll have a sidebar that contains maybe a search box and some, predefined filters, maybe a list of categories or tags that you can click on to help filter your lists of blog posts out. We can do that with Total Blog as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a 2-column stack. And then let's go ahead and add the blog list over here. Let's adjust the split of this a little bit. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to add a blog filter stack into this sidebar here. And the blog filter stack, we have many things that we can add. First, let's say we wanted to add a blog search bar. So this adds a search bar. And obviously, when we have a search, we want to be able to submit that search. So we're going to go ahead and add a blog button as well. If we go into the settings, we want that to be, let's say it's go, make that a tiny button, align right, and let's make it secondary, a little less in your face. So let's preview our page. As you see, now we have a nice search box where we can search our blog and click the go button or hit the enter key, and it will automatically submit that search for us. Now, in order for the search to work, inside the blog filter stack, you're going to want to make sure that you set the blog list URL. So this basically defines the blog page that the filter results will be displayed on. If you leave that as blank, it will use the current page that you're on. However, I do suggest that you, even if you're using the current page, just go ahead and set that inside that setting. Now, if we add another blog filter stack on there, let's look at some of the other great options that we have available. If I click on plus, let's go and look at blog links. Okay. Now, blog links, it's a great way. If I click on this and let's show all categories. Okay. We need to go into the blog select stack, change our CMS ID to be blog, and then set our blog list URL just as we did in the search stack. Okay, and there we go. So you set the CMS ID to be blog, you set the blog list URL to be blog as well, or to the page that contains your blog lists. And this particular filter stack is now going to display all of the categories as links for this blog. There we go. We have our search box, and then we have a nice convenient list of all of the categories in this blog that I can then click, and this blog list will be dynamically filtered to only display the blog posts that are within that category. So here I've taken it a little bit farther, and I've added a categories header, and then I've also added the count for each category as well. And then I also added tags below, so you can see all the tags that are for every single blog post, how many blog posts are related to those tags, so that you know that when you click on that, how many blog posts are you supposed to be able to see. Now, I'm really happy with how this blog list page has turned out. Let's go ahead and start configuring the blog post page so that when users click on our individual blog posts inside the list, it takes us to the full detailed page. So now we're coming down the final stretch. This is the last blog related page that we need to add to our site. And this is the blog post page, the dedicated page where we will view all of the details for our blog posts when they're clicked on a blog list somewhere throughout our site. So obviously what we're going to do is there is a blog post stack inside the Total CMS content area. If we add that to the page, you will notice a very similar interface to the last couple blog stacks that we've interfaced with. We have a child of interface where you can add all of the various fields for a blog post. Now, just like the blog post form on the admin side, you can use any stack that you want inside the blog post stack to help with your layout and visual appeal of your blog posts. And just like any of these child of interfaces, you simply select the stack that you want to add, and it will add that stack inside the blog post. And then you can move that stack around to where you want it to be inside that particular layout. Now you will also notice a child of stack called blog post macro hints. Now earlier on in this video series, we looked at CMS Core and all of the text macros that are available there. Blog post pages have access to another set of macros that are specific to the blog post page. This allows us to integrate our blog content within our RapidWeaver sites and pages and third-party stacks. So I've gone ahead and created a sample layout. It's pretty basic. Up at the top, I have a blog post image. I then have a one column stack that allows me to add a little bit of padding. I have the blog post date that's aligned to the right, the title, the author, and then if you notice here, I'm using my Columnist Stack. The Columnist Stack allows us to break up large amounts of text into textual columns. And in order to integrate into the Columnist Stack, I'm actually using one of the macros for the blog content. Then below the main blog content area, I also have the blog post gallery, which will be a gallery of all the images that are added into this blog post. Then below that, I've added a list of the categories that this blog post is associated with, as well as tags. Now, inside the blog post stack, obviously there are some important settings here. The CMS ID is obviously blog because that is the ID of our blog. And this is going to be using the sample data that we used earlier, which uses the CMS ID of blog. Okay. Now, the preview post setting, this needs to be the permalink of a blog post that exists on your blog server. Now, the sample blog data that we used has a blog post with a permalink of San Francisco. Now, this preview post is only used inside RapidWeaver, and it allows us to preview that particular post on the page. This makes it easier to format and determine layouts for our blog posts if we actually have live data from an actual blog post on our system. Now, below this is where we can actually add social meta tags to our blog post pages. So when we use the description tag, that will insert the blog post summary as the description meta tag. Okay. Facebook Open Graph tags will be added using the blog post title, the description or the summary of the blog post, as well as taking one of the images from the blog post gallery and using that as the social share image. And the same thing for Twitter and Google+. So if we preview our blog post page, we'll see that we have a nice, beautiful kind of banner image from one of the images that was added to the blog post gallery. We have our nice blog content that has been added to the Columnist Stack. And further down, we have a full-blown gallery for all of the images that were added to that blog post. Then we have a link to the categories and tags that were associated with this blog post as well. Now, another common thing that blogs tend to do is on the blog post page, they have the ability to show related posts. So let's give that a shot. I can go ahead and add a small divider between that. Call that maybe. And then we're going to add a blog list stack below that. Now, obviously, we need to set the CMS ID in our blog list stack to be blog. And then our post view page is going to be the URL to the blog view page, which is technically the page we're on at this moment. And that warning goes away. Now we need to build out the layout that we want. And I want this to be relatively simple. And I think all we're going to do is we're going to do an image. And then below that image, we're just going to do the title. And that's it. I think that's all that we want. Now I want to change a little bit of the defaults from the blog list stack. Now with the display count, I only want to display a few blog posts at most. So I'm going to set this to be 3. And really, I'm going to shuffle actually, because I just want it to be a random 3 posts that are related. I don't necessarily need it to be any order. If you always wanted to ensure that you got the 3 latest posts, you could definitely do that. I think it'd be fun just to set that to be shuffle. On date, we only want to display past posts, featured. Let's display with posts, hide drafts, and this is where we define where we want the things to be related on. In this case, I'm going to set the related to be by author. So I'm going to check filter by author and then related author from post. This checkbox is critical, and this checkbox only works if you're on a blog post page because it will get related posts from the post that's on this page. So in this example, we're going to be displaying related blog posts from the same author as this blog post. You could do it with category and with tags as well. Okay. Now instead of the list layout, I actually want to go to a cards layout so that we have 3 cards, and I'm kind of envisioning maybe 3 blog posts in cards okay, side by side with each other. So that's exactly what the cards layout will do for us. Now I've gone ahead and tweaked some of the layout settings just so that everything matches up properly. And let's go ahead and preview this. So here we have our nice blog post as we saw earlier. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see that we now have related blog posts that we can then click, and it would take us to that particular blog post and view its details. So this is a great way to allow your users to see other blog posts that you have available for them to read. And if you do related posts based on tags or categories, this allows users to see exactly potentially the category of blog posts that they'd want to be interested in. Now, before we leave, I wanted to add one more thing to our homepage, because I thought it would be interesting to show the latest 3 blog posts that we have directly on the homepage. So as you see, here's another layout that we can do with the blog list stack. This just shows you the flexibility that the blog list stack has, that you have countless ways to display your blog posts. Here's another one of my favorite layouts for the card view. If you notice, what it does here is not only does it display images, but if a blog post has enough images, it will display multiple thumbnails for each image inside that blog post. We then have equalized heights on the cards, as well as read more buttons that are fixed directly to the bottom. This is just a really clean and elegant layout for your blog posts. Okay, so we just took time and we implemented an entire blog with customized content everywhere, custom layouts in under 20 minutes. That's pretty awesome, right? I hope you see the power of blog, right? It is really powerful, especially in the hands of Total CMS with all of the other things that it can do. Now, hopefully you were able to follow this. I could have split this up into 2 videos, but I thought I'd just chug it all out and get blog done all in one video. So I hope that you love Total CMS and the blog and really see the power of it. You can have multiple blogs per page, multiple blogs per site, right? So really, if you start thinking out of the box, that you could do so much with blog. And it's really simple to set up. With blog, there you do have to be careful. There's a lot of linking to things, right? So you have to make sure you set your CMS ID and you set the linking, especially like for the filters, set the link to be the blog list stack. And you have to, whenever you have a blog list stack, you have to link that to the blog post page, right? Because all these components need to talk with each other. And that is how the talking is done, right? It's via linking those pages together. So those are very important, that you make sure that those link settings are set, or else things probably won't work properly in your blog. Use the demo data that we supply you. It has some great blog posts in there. It has, I think, 8 different blog posts with many categories and many tags and different authors already set up for you. So you don't need to worry about entering in tons of data. Just simply throw that sample data on your server and start playing with it now, right? Start playing with the layouts that you can do and all the possibilities there. There's so many possibilities with that blog list stack. So you're going to want to make sure that you check out the detailed video on that, especially if you want to learn all the ins and outs and the intricate settings that some of those have. I don't want to take up much more of your time. I hope you love blog and Total CMS. It really is revolutionary, and it's really going to take your websites to the entirely new level, because you can design things in RapidWeaver and then manage all of the content and add new content online without ever needing to interact with RapidWeaver. This is perfect for you on the go, for your clients and your customers, if you're designing websites for others. It really is an invaluable tool. So I hope you've enjoyed this series on Total CMS and how we've kind of taken that project from nothing, right? In the foundation getting started series, we did 3 videos there. And then we did 3 more videos here, taking that same project, and we now have full online editing capabilities of it. On top of that, we've added a blog, right? pretty mind-boggling what we've done in just 6 videos, right? So thank you very much. Enjoy Total CMS and have a wonderful day.